Hi, this is Steve Siebold from the Bone Allen Mansion, and we're here with Julio Velazquez from Puerto Rico originally, and now from Tampa, sent there via the hurricane. And one of the most successful, fastest growing people in World Financial Group. So Julio, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit, you've got a long background in this industry. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and then how you got started with WFG?
Well, this industry, it definitely changed my life, Steve. So I joined it 19 years ago. When I was 19 years old, I joined this industry. And I was basically in a restaurant, and you could get the image. I was in this little space chopping chicken. It was dead chicken, not live.
You were working in the restaurant?
I'm working.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working. So I'm chopping chicken there. They're dead. Some people think they were alive, so no. They were dead chicken. It's like a rotisserie place chicken, you know. So I'm there. My parents own the place, and it's September, mid-September, before Hurricane George.
This is in Puerto Rico?
This is in Puerto Rico. Before Hurricane George, it's mid-September, and it's really, really hot. I could just remember that day as of today. It's really hot, maybe in lower hundreds, and I have two barbecue chicken machines, one behind me like 3 feet and one beside me like 4 feet. So it's really hot. It's like 1 p.m. And I have this neighbor who had a new boyfriend, and he comes in and he says, "Hey Julio, will you be working here all your life?" I said, "I hope not." Right? It's really hot. You know? I just can remember the heat because it just had rained, and we had our roof wasn't concrete; it was metal. So it just rained. All that heat it's just crazy. I could just remember the heat. I'm just starting to sweat right now, remembering that.
No air conditioning, I think.
Yeah, no, but it's hot, man. There's no AC in the whole restaurant.
Okay.
So it's just a little shop, you know. My parents had. So we're there, and this guy comes up and he says, "Will you be doing this your whole life?" And I said, "No, man, I hope not. And do you want to come to a meeting to see if you could join our business?" And my first question for him is, you know, is it legal? And he says, it's a perfectly honest question. And he said, yeah, it's totally legal. It has to do with insurance. And I'm like, okay. I had seen this insurance dude go to my house to collect premium every month. He was always well dressed, came in a nice big car. So I saw that, and it was something that intrigued me. There are people who say that they had never thought about selling insurance in their life, but when I saw the guy dressed up, sitting down with my parents, having coffee with them, that's how they used to do insurance in the old days, right? And driving that, you know, nice car for what, you know, was maybe a Buick or something, Buick Regal, or, you know, at that time for me it was the nicest car in the world.
Sure.
So me seeing him, and then he invited me to an insurance meeting, as crazy as it is, for me, that was positive. So he said, "Hey, you have to kind of dress up." So I dressed up the best way I could, right? And went to that meeting. And they said, you know, I don't remember a lot about that meeting, but I remember they said, the worst thing that can happen to you is that you can learn a lot about finances and money. And if it really works for you, you can make $50,000 a year. So for me, that was the biggest deal in the world. I remember my sister was just finishing college. She had been a great student in college, an engineering degree, and she was struggling to get a job. And when she got a job, it was under $50,000. So I was a really bad student. So I said, well, it's going to be even worse for me. So maybe I can take, you know, this opportunity and see if it's good for me. So I went to my parents and I said, "Dad, I need $200. And for what? I'm going to join this company. Doing what? I'm going to sell insurance. With who? With so-and-so. And he says, "Oh, man. Okay." And my mom, you know, this is a story I know after. She said, "Well, give him the money." So he goes into that pyramid thing. He loses it. And young in his life, he understands those things don't work. So they're just feeding me into the system to teach me a lesson. So I come back 2 or 3 weeks later and I say, "Hey, Dad, I need two more things. I need $300 for my license, and I need an appointment with you. So my trainer could come and do an appointment and show you what I'm doing and blah, 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 blah. And she said, well, this is getting expensive now. Now, it's coming up to $500. And my mom very wisely said, just give him the money. Just, let him go through his process. So long story short, a year after that, I go up to them and I say, hey, I don't want to work in the restaurant business anymore. I want to go full-time to do this business. I want to quit college. And you know how that went, right? And they said, well, if you go out and get your securities license, I'll let you quit college. So I said, okay. So I went, I got my securities license, and the same day I passed the test was the last day I went to school. And from that day on, I said, well, I'm going to go full-time and do this. And I said, okay, so you don't want to work the business anymore in the restaurant? I said, no. I said, okay. So they sold the business. Wow. And they said, is this, thing you're doing, right? How they called it. Is this really going to work for you? Are you making any money? I said, well, Mom, I'm still not making money, but it's going to work out eventually. And she said, okay. So me and your dad decided we're gonna move with your sister to Connecticut and New York, and you could leave with us if you want, or you could stay back here in Puerto Rico and take care of all the expenses. But you're going to be very successful at your business, so it shouldn't be a problem for you to take care of all the expenses, right? And this is a 20-year-old kid. I can take care of everything, Mom. You see, I'm responsible. You brought me up right. So the truth is, I took charge of everything. I had to pay the house, the car, the light, the water, and take care of myself. And basically, that was $18,000 a year, $1,500 a month. That year, I made $18,000 to pay for the house, for the car, for the water, and for the light. How did I eat? That's the big question I've always had. How did I eat? Well, that's perfectly easy. It's easy to answer. I had appointments. I always had appointments at 6 o'clock, so people always fed me. So I need, it was kind of a do it or die situation.
Yeah, right,
I need
appointments.
I need an appointment. I was like, why are you so desperate for an appointment? Well,
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry, man. If I don't get an appointment, I won't eat. And I needed to be at 6 is when people are having food, and they're like, well, what time do you prefer? But I think 6 is the only time that will work for me. What time do you guys have dinner?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I worked around. Next year I came in and made $60,000.
Wow, big increase.
Yeah, I did a big increase. I became a regional vice president for the company at 21.
Wow.
I flew my parents in. They came for my promotion. Very emotional process in our life, and I owe it to them. They trusted me, right? They put me to the test, and they showed me the good principles when we were kids, to work hard and to stay honest and to do the things the right way, and it worked out.
And now with WFG, your current rank is what?
I'm an executive vice chairman right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm executive vice chairman with WFG. Yeah.
So you're making more than $60,000.
A little bit more.
Okay. And what was it about WFG that attracted you to the company?
Well,
from another company.
Well, one of the things is I wasn't looking for WFG, and that brings me to another story, right? The prior company I was with, I knew there was this company that existed that was called WFG, WMA, or whatever it was called back then in the day, and they used to tell me there was another company out there that they were crooks and they were bad people and they did the wrong thing for the consumer and they sold trash value life insurance. And so I'm a 19-year-old kid, so that's what I'm believing. That's what I'm being brought up with. So I believed all those stories, right? And to a point, I said those stories forward. So when they talk to me about other companies, no, this is the only company that works, right? This is the only good company, and so being in that company after 10 years, I decided I wanted out. Right? Not because I wasn't making money, but money has always been a result of my effort. It's not something that's going to keep me in a place because I can make money anywhere. Right? Because if you're good doing whatever you need, whatever you do. So it wasn't something that was going to keep me tied up to that company I worked for. And to a certain point, I got frustrated with the industry, with the whole concept of financial services, of who was telling the truth, who was not telling the truth, what was the good product, what was the bad product, and everybody had their own story. And I came to a point in my life where I said, well, the story I'm saying for me, I think it's not right. I think I haven't been doing the job correctly for the last 10 years, and I'm not going to do this anymore. Right? It's from the two things I sell financial services and I sell opportunity for other people. So if you don't have the product to back up the opportunity is not that good. So when I wasn't in love with the products anymore of that company I was working with, I said, I can't do this. So from one night to another, I sat down with my wife and I said, I think I'm going to resign. And it was, close to $200,000 a year.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, But my peace of mind was more important than that, and that's what we did. We just resigned said we're not doing this anymore. And why? Well, what was that when I started seeing other products, like I was brought up in thinking that you should only buy term products and invest the difference. That was what was taught to me. That was what was drained in my mind. My mom had a cash value life insurance, and in that training appointment, they canceled that policy. They sold their term. They sold some mutual funds. And what happened was 10 years after, and all these things collide, right? I'm starting to see other products that I see, well, if I was a consumer, I would consider buying this product. But I have to right now tell the client this is not a good product, and I'm not willing to do that. Because for me to sell mine, I have to tell them theirs is bad. So I'm not willing to do that. If they have a good product, why am I going to go over something that's already good and try to sell that? That's not right. So at that same time, the term my mom had bought, the 10-year term, was already reaching its term. So she got a letter saying she had to pay 3 times the premium of what she was paying, and I got the call from my mother. Saying, she calls me, my name is Julio, but my dad's name is Julio also. So they call me Julito. So they say, Julito, I just got a letter from your company. Okay, yeah, Mom, what's up? Says, well, they're going to charge me 3 times more what I'm paying for my life insurance, and I'm almost in my retirement age, and I can't take care of that payment right now. If you had left me alone with the policy I had, ooh, I would have had cash value now that would have taken care of that policy for the rest of my life.
Oh, boy.
You can imagine how I felt as a professional, as a son. In that moment, I was like, no, Mom, that product was wrong. We did the right thing for you. I said, well, you should research a little bit more to see if you really did the right thing for me. And the truth is, I didn't do the right thing for her. And I learned it the hard way.
You thought you were doing the right thing at the time, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was excited with my trainer. I didn't even do the sale. I didn't even make commissions off of it. My trainer did it. So I started looking more into the industry. I started seeing clients like with products like return of premium term, where they got a policy, they paid $50 a month, 30 years went by, they got all their money back, or most of their money back. And I had a product where they paid $50 for 30 years, and at the end of 30 years, they lost their product, they didn't get anything back. Same amount of money, same amount of time. I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. So that's when we leave, and I even canceled my insurance license. I just canceled it. And I said, no, this 10 years, what I was going to give to this industry has been very good to me, but I'm not doing it anymore. So I go following another of my passions, that's the tax industry. And I partner up with one of my friends, and we start a CE, Continuing Education Tax Practice in Puerto Rico. We grew it to the biggest tax practice on CE education on the island. And in learning that industry, I see that people that tax preparers and accountants are the perfect fit to sell financial services. It just made sense.
Sure.
We're already teaching them, most of them, how to start a tax practice from zero and how to do all the tax industry requires. I said, well, I think it makes sense if these guys had the opportunity, right, not to build a financial service business, but to have financial services as one of the products they can offer. And I start researching what companies I can use to offer that type of product and service and help these accountants get into the financial service industry. So I researched for months. I went to all the major companies, and their platform, how it was structured, it didn't make sense for somebody like me. Because I wasn't going to go in just to personally produce, which I was going to personally produce, but I wanted to also build an organization, build a team, build some type of agency, and there was no space to do that. And it got really frustrating to a point. I can remember like if it was right now, I was sleeping. And, as all of us top performers, we have a notebook, right, next to our bed. And that's one of the things that keep our marriage together. Because before the notebook, I used to wake up my wife at the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So once I learned about the notebook, it kept her happier, right? So, but this day I wake up in the middle of the night, and I didn't reach for the notebook. I went ahead and I woke her up. I said, So, what happened? I got an idea. He says, well, write it down, Julio. I says, no. You remember this company they used to tell us everybody was a crook? He says, yeah. I think those people are in Puerto Rico. I think it's a similar system, but just with different products. I think that will solve the problem I had. And I go online and I start researching, and I found the company existed. And this was 3 a.m. I didn't go to sleep.
This is World Financial Group.
Oh, yeah, this is World Financial Group. This 3 a.m., I'm just sitting in front of the computer, and she's like, you should go back to sleep. I'm not sleeping. I'm waiting till 8 a.m. to that office open so I can call.
Right.
So I wait, 8 a.m., I call, nobody answers. 9 a.m., nobody answers. 10 a.m., finally somebody answers the phone. And I say, hey, how many agents you have in Puerto Rico? Well, we have like 14. I'm like, nice. How many years have you been here? 20 years. Oh, wow. So you've been 20 years, 14 agents. Okay, cool. Which I perfectly understand in the model the company had before, where everybody had to be fully licensed. It was really hard to build the business. IUL changed the whole dynamics of how World Financial Group and the Puerto Rico business runs, because you don't need both licenses, and the securities license is 100% in English. In Puerto Rico, you just talk Spanish. So It was really hard for the leaders there to get people fully licensed.
Sure.
More salespeople, right? Because they could get people who won't sell nothing in their life fully licensed because they're smart and they're good with books, but they won't be good with sales. So, making the long story short, I said, well, okay, cool. Who's the upline for Puerto Rico? Who's the guy who comes down here and makes meetings and everything? And I said, well, that guy is Darren Farrell. I said, okay, give me Darren Farrell's number. I get Darren Farrell's number after, going around. You know how it is trying to get somebody's number from a corporate office.
Sure.
They don't know who you are,
right,
and everything. So finally I get his number, and this is February. WFG is where in February? Hawaii.
Right.
They're in Hawaii. So I start calling Darren's office, and guess what? Darren's where?
Hawaii.
Darren's in Hawaii. And he's got these calls, in his career a couple of times. People saying they're big players in another place. And he said, I'm in the middle of my vacation. I'm not going to interrupt my vacation for this guy who's calling in saying he wants to join. I'll call him back when I get back. So I think I called the day he left, because it took him like 2 weeks to call me after. So I'm coming out of a meeting with a general agent in the island, where I said, because it had passed 2 weeks, I haven't got the call from WFG, from Darren. This guy had made the best offer for us to start building a team for accountants to start doing their financial services practice with us. And I'm leaving that office. I'm approaching my car. I'm putting my hand to open my door, and the phone rings. And it's a 512 area code, which I remember by mind, because I remember 512 was Texas. I get all jittery and nervous and pick up the phone, and it's Darren. And he says, yeah, you've been calling my office. And I said, do you have half an hour? I said, yeah, I think I have half an hour. And I said, I've been researching your company. And with all the experience I have, and seeing all the companies out there, I have decided this is the best company to join. Nobody's calling me to recruit me. After all my years of experience, I have determined this is the best company for me to join, system-wise. Now I have to understand your products, right? And I had learned about the IUL product, and I fell in love. I presented it to my CPA partners at the firm, and they just took that product apart. They took it from A to Z, cost, everything. Because if we're going to tell people to do it, and we already built a successful business, it's not going to be, we're not going to put our name behind something that is not right.
Sure.
And I told them, hey, remember, everything I was taught was buy term and best the difference. Everybody taught me for 10 years, this is really bad. So you guys have to show me it's not that bad. So they took it, and they took it from the tax standpoint. They looked at it. They did all their Excel spreadsheets that I never understand. Just explain what it means, right?
Sure.
And they gave me all those Excel spreadsheets, and they said, this is really good. This is an awesome product. This Index Universal Life is just like the best of two worlds. You have all the guarantees, and you don't have the downside of the market, and you have the life insurance, and the costs are built in, but they're leveraged out with the returns of the policy, and it could be extended. So they really understood the product, and I was sold on it. And I said, well, this is really an awesome product. So I already had learned about IUL. I asked Darren. I said, Darren, do you have IUL? This is that first call we have. And he says, we have the first IUL that was approved on that island. Right? He goes, we were the first company in the whole Puerto Rico to get an IUL approved, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay. Is it a good IUL? Right? How does it compete against this other company? He says, well, ours has this floor and has this. I already understood the product. So that sounds much better than the product they're offering me. So after I understood the opportunity was great, now I had to understand the product was great. We had the other part of the conversation was, hey, okay, I like your product. Now I have to confirm your system is good. If I am not a builder, okay, which I am, right? That's what I do, but I am very unique as an individual. Not everybody's a builder, right? It takes years to become a builder. So when somebody joins our business, they're brand new. They're not builders. They don't know the relationship, the equipping, the attitude, the leadership, everything that's required to be a real builder in a business like this. So for them to have a real opportunity, they have to have a career where they could write with their own pen, learn the sales part, acquire the skills and knowledge to make sales, and make at least $50,000, $100,000 a year so they can survive until they become a builder, So if they have to come in and be a builder first so they can make some money and they just have to recruit the world, I'm not in. I need to make sure they can, with their own pen, go out there, make 30, 40, 50, 100,000. I say, I made $250,000 my first year.
In WFG?
In WFG with my own pen. That's what he said. That's what he said.
Oh, that's what Darren Farrell said.
That's what Darren Farrell said.
Okay.
So Darren tells me, I made $250,000 my first year with my own pen. And I had been with a prior company 10 years, and I had never
Which means
30.
he sold
it.
Right.
Yeah. Which means he's proven the system of success. And he says, yeah, I understand where you're coming from because I wasn't a huge builder. There was a time in my career I didn't want to recruit anybody because I wanted to become a success first, and because I come from the concept I don't recruit to become successful. I become successful to recruit. I want to attract people to me. Right? I don't want to try to bring them on so I could become the huge success. I become the huge success on my own. Right, writing, making sales, doing what we tell people to do, doing it great.
And how long did it take you to become successful? Like in your first year, what did you make? Do you remember? In WFG.
Oh, in WFG, sure. I remember perfectly. My first year, I did $120,000.
Wow.
In my first 12 months.
That's a lot. Your first year.
Oh yeah. But it all has to do with expectations, Steve. When I joined WFG, in my mind, I wasn't worth less than $100,000. So for me, that was a zero. So I had to go out there and make $100,000. I'm worth more than that. So for it to really work, I have to be able to produce that myself. If not, it's not going to work. I think it's something about self-confidence and the expectations you have on your skills and knowledge. So with the skills and knowledge I already brought to the table, it was me or being lazy, or the system really didn't work. if I didn't make $100,000. So it wasn't that difficult for me with the skills and knowledge I already brought to the table to make that amount of money.